Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everybody. I'm your host, Preacher Moss, the host of the SOS, the Shout Out Show. Hope that you're having a tremendous Thursday. You know how it is when we get into our Thursdays, brothers and sisters. We are automatically thinking about Friday, and I am no different than anybody. It's been one of those weeks, an enjoyable week, but I am not going to tell you I'm not happy to see the weekend right around the corner. So, as we move through today's show, our topic today, brothers and sisters, is a question about, is it about social order? Is it about mental health? Is it about basic etiquette and conversation? I heard someone say something to their significant other at a at a restaurant, and a young man said to, I think, his wife at the time, I don't know if they're still married after this, but he referred to her as a conversation terrorist. He said, you take over conversations. You are a hijacker. And he said, I've been sitting here an hour. You've talked 58 and a half minutes. The only reason you stopped was to order your food. And I got to thinking about this, and I kind of wanted to laugh, and I know it wasn't my business, but a lot of times all of us are kind of caught in that space sometimes where we're going, am I saying too much? Am I saying too little? You know, one thing about COVID that brought out a lot of this is the fact that a lot of times when we're not, or I say we are pushed away from our normal pathways of conversation and communication, we do tend to overcompensate. We do tend to say more than we need to, you know, and these things always have ramifications when they're negative. Sometimes that over talking, if you're watching First 48, that's pretty much going to be snitching. If you are listening to your mother talk about a family member and it goes beyond information that you want, that's a rumor. And then sometimes it's just the fact that you get caught with somebody who, God bless them, they think they are the most interesting person on earth and that you should be sitting there. And darn near, if you're not paying to be in their presence, to listen to this verbiage, then somehow something is wrong with you. Well, I'm going to throw this out here, brothers and sisters, that just like everything else, we have these disorders. I don't know if there's a disorder for talking too much, shut the hell up disorder, or can't shut the hell up disorder. I don't know. Running your mouth phobia. I don't know. Fear of silence phobia. I don't know. All I know is it's become more and more of an issue as we began to look at social interaction and social engagement. One of the worst things you ever want to see when you're a comedian, is you look out before you got on stage and you see people, particularly in a bar setting, you see people talking and talking and talking and talking. What that means is when you go on stage, you have to work to congeal their conversation and get their attention on stage. A lot of times, the first minute and a half you're on stage, you are literally getting people to adjust to the fact that you're going to be talking and they are going to be listening. Well, in a comedy club, that's okay, because that is already fostered that you're coming to hear and watch a comedian. But in everyday life, a lot of times it does not have that space. And people, I don't know, sometimes, and I was saying this to my consultant producer, sometimes the question is, while you're talking, do you really have something to say, or is it really about you being heard? When we had January 6th, we had the insurrection, there were a lot of things that were going on, brothers and sisters, but what I saw from masses of people who came there were people who were frustrated because they felt like they weren't being heard. Now, the worst thing that can happen is that you get into that situation. But, you know, I'm going to get into that a little bit later. But stick around. We're going to be asking the question, is it me or do people talk too much here on the Shout Out Show?
We just need help.
Imagine if there wasn't an olive branch. Muslim Family Services at your command. The people who help people have to say, we need your donations, don't delay. We all have struggles from time to time, but leaders dedicated is what you find. Before another person sheds a tear, support Olive Branch, you don't have to fear. Olive Branch Muslim Family Services. Action you can see, compassion you can feel. Sing it with me. Ooh. Ooh. All right, thank you so much, Olive Brown, for Muslim Family Services, doing great things in the city of Houston. I want to make sure we give them a shout out. So, to begin the conversation, brothers and sisters, I want to also frame that the topic right here, is it me or do people talk too much, really has, one, it has a social implication, but two, it also has a mental health implication as well. I don't want it to be all funny like, oh man, you need to shut the hell up. There are people who, when they speak out from their hearts, they speak out from their anxieties, brothers and sisters, they are really looking for help. We have a record number, not a record number, but definitely an increased number of suicides here in the United States. And what do they call? These are desperate pleas for help. And sometimes we don't hear those people. So let me throw that out there. But the other part about it is, I can make the case as a comedian that some people talk too much. Case in point, I was at the grocery store. I won't say what grocery store. I was at the grocery store, and there was a man in front of me, and he was fidgeting, and that had nothing to do with me. It was we had our social distancing, we had a mask on, and he breaks out into a conversation, and I thought he was sick. I'm like, is something wrong? Because he snatched his mask off. I said, sir, is something wrong? Are you okay? And he says, I have my underwear on backwards. Now, see, that's something right there I don't need to know, that you got your drawers on backwards. But you see what I'm saying? It is ridiculous. Why are you telling me you got your drawers on backwards? Now, all of us are sitting up here at the 15 items list going, why are you talking? You know what? Put the drawers in the basket. If you got 10 items, go on through the line. We don't have time for that. But let me dial it back a little bit, because we got a lot of show today. Before we get started, let's invite people into the shout out show. They've been in the counter. Let's get our family out. We got Sister Ree saying hello, family. Hello to you, Sister Ree. I owe you a call after the show. I will take care of that. I hope you're doing well. You and your family, Derek and Juwan. I hope everybody's having a blessed day. Thank you, Sister Ree, for joining us on the show today. Like you saw the title. Is it me or do people talk too much? All right, next up, we got Mary Moss, better known as Mama Son, saying, stay blessed, SOS family. Yes, we all need a blessing, Mama Son. Thank you so much, and God bless you. Even got it on during the show. Sometimes my mom just stays on after the show because she don't want to leave. And she's been here 24 hours just to get that message up. We love you though, Mama Son. Thank you so much. And my main man, Altar Rashid. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, our Canadian ambassador to the show. What's going on, brother? We appreciate it. As always, man, we hope everything is going well up there north of the border in Toronto, man. We appreciate you. Thank you for joining us. Next up. Sister Ika dialing in all the way from Depok, Indonesia. We hope everything's going well over there. How's the COVID situation over there? Let us know. I hope you and your family are safe and protected, and just, in a space where you're able to receive joy. We like that. Sister Ika, thank you so much. Next up, my main man, Bilal Salahuddin. What's going on, brother? Salams from the Salahuddins. What is the show without the Salahuddins? My brother, shout out to you. Shout out to Sister Sonia, Salahuddin Dalton. We appreciate you, man. Much love. Thank you so much for joining us. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Next up. And of course, we have our consultant producer, the incomparable Satana Whitfield, working the back and make sure everything comes out smoothly. So, let me throw this out here. Because the first part of this conversation, is it me or do people talk too much? I believe, and the clip I'm going to show you, is the fact that we do have a society where communication is in such competition that people feel like they have to talk. They have to say or communicate beyond what it is they're really trying to say, because sometimes people feel like if I don't get it in, I'll never get it in. So let's run that clip. This is interesting. We got a psychologist who's going to talk to us about talking too much.
Hey, welcome to this week's Ask a Shrink. I'm Brad Shore. I'm a licensed therapist. Today I want to talk about talking. Aren't you getting sick of hearing me? That's what I want to talk today. I want to talk about people who go on and on and on and on and on and talk too much, and they just don't slow down, and what that's about. So today I want to talk about talking. Well, here I am talking, but it's okay to talk when it's done for a constructive purpose, if we're communicating our feelings, sharing a plan, general chit chat. We're able to talk for a reason. It's a natural part of us, communication. But what about people who talk too much? That they become so caught up in the dismissal of everything else because all that matters is that they can hear themselves talk. There are people like that. We all know people like that. And quite often people who don't want to be around people like that run away from people like that. So that's what this video is about. For people who talk too much, why they're doing it, and for people who are around people who do that, what you can do to cope. For people who are doing that in their life, they probably won't know it. They won't really want to watch a video like this because they would have to confront the fact that they're doing it. And it's a coping mechanism, a defense mechanism, as a way to not deal with real life. So one way that you avoid life and not have to look inward, face fears, deal with feelings, reveal who you really are, deal with your authentic self, and so on, is to simply ramble. Because in the rambling, you're on the hamster wheel. And the hamster wheel is something that goes round and round and round, and you don't really have to look at anything. Because thoughtful communication involves going inward, noticing what we're feeling, being aware of what we're thinking about, deciding how we want to share that, why we're sharing it, and to whom we want to share it with. And then there's the ebb and flow of conversation with after we've shared what we've wanted to share. We're interested and we're curious about what the feedback will be, what the other person is going to say back to us, and we allow space and time for that. Because that's what makes up conversation. It's the ebb and the flow, the exchange of ideas, the exchange of feelings. Or even just goofing around and having fun still has to involve that we're allowing space and time for the other person to be goofy and have their fun time as well. So if you're one of those people who do that, look inward and try to understand why you're doing it. It might have become so much of a habit that you don't know how to get off the hamster wheel now. Well, one way to start is just by building awareness of how you communicate, what your conversation style is like. For those of you who are around somebody like that in your life, maybe it's a close family member, co-workers that you're caught in the same office space with, the best thing you can do is to try to have healthy boundaries around your time and your space. You can try to have a conversation with them about it, but chances are you're not going to be very successful because that's like trying to chip away at a coping mechanism that's perhaps been there for many decades for somebody. So you're not really going to win that one. So what you can do though is have healthy boundaries for yourself and do your best to not have toxic people around you in that way. You can bring presence to the
So I like the way that the gentleman broke it down, because the way he's talking, these are everyday situations. Everyday situation, and it can sometimes it can be generational. Let me tell you, at my age, when I grew up around adults, it was you were seen and not heard. As my father would say, until you can pay the mortgage, shut up. Until you can pay the light bill, I don't want to hear anything. And I understand what he was saying, but it's more so about you step into the role of being able to communicate and have accountability for what you're saying. Along with your group of kids, your 7-year-olds, your 10-year-olds, your teenagers, y'all run around and talk. We all rabble rouse. We run our mouths because, that's what we do. We are basically learning a social habit. But our parents would say, listen, you're going to be in circles outside of your friends, in circles outside of your family, and you need to understand what is appropriate conversation. So that's not to be lost, brothers and sisters. That's 100% not to be lost. And then the other part of it is, we're in such a scope these days in terms of competition in society. My business in comedy has always been a cutthroat business because the person who's heard the most, 9 times out of 10 is the one that gets the attention. My mom always says, it's the squeaky wheel that gets the oil. This is true. But when we're talking about interpersonal communications and relationships, it can become problematic. And even myself sometimes, when I'm talking to people and people pay me to talk, I find it important, like when I'm off stage, when you're not paying me to talk, that I step back. that I learned to be a much more efficient listener. And when I'm an efficient listener, I learned that I'm also able to have a lot more valuable contribution to the conversation. I learned from an example of Dr. J. Dr. J, when he would talk to children, he was like 6'7". But it's well noted that when Dr. J would talk to children, he would kneel down and look at children in the eye. And he would ask leading questions that would allow the child to not give a simple yes or no answer, but to explore the space that they were in, number one. And number two, feel confident talking about their world. Now, parents do that for children all the time. I'm not saying anything, but I'm saying sometimes we take it a little far. We take it a little extra. And I have been a victim of a couple conversation hostage situations. I don't know about you. I told you about the man at the store. I didn't need to know that he had put his underwear on backwards. I don't know what was all in my face. Like, tell this Negro what happened. I don't know what happened, but there we are in aisle number 7. Listen to this guy talk about his underwear, and he wouldn't shut up. He could have left it at that, but he kept going. And it led into other things. It led into why his wife left him. Led into his kids don't visit him. And we ain't got time for all of that. We just don't. But there's also a thing about the empathetic ear. And I have to be better at it sometimes. I don't want to hear things. I'm at that point where people start going left. I'm like, I got to get off the train right here. I'm not saying I don't want to hear what you got to say, but sometimes it is an issue about respecting my time. Respecting my time. And one of the biggest things they haven't talked about since this insurrection is the fact that people who committed these crimes literally have occupied our public space for over a year. We're still listening to things about the insurrection over a year. Now, if this had been any other thing, I know if a brother had thrown a rock at the Capitol, he'd have been locked up and gone. But now you're talking about a culture that feels like I have the right to invade your personal space and put things in there that I may not agree with, but because I am what I am, or I believe what I am, or I believe what I believe, you should believe what I believe. Just think about that. Now look, we're going to take a short break and come back. We've gone through the whole aspect of the psychological. We had a psychologist talking about people who talk too much. I get it. Now, brothers and sisters, when we come back after the break, you need to hear black folk talk about folk who talk too much. So you got the psychological part. Now you're going to get the black part when we come back. This is Preacher Moss, SOS. See you in a minute. Hey, babies. Welcome to Radio WCUC, Convenient Urgent Care, home of the smart patient. This is DJ What It Do. You know what time it is. It's the top of the hour, and the request lines are open. You know what you want to hear. I know what you want to hear. Operators are waiting.
I just got to hear don't get the COVID.
Don't get the COVID. Put your mask back on. The Delta COVID, more contagious than before. Don't get the COVID. Go on and get the vaccine. You know that it can keep you safe, and your people living up in your space. Don't get the COVID. You need to wash your hands. The Delta COVID is more deadly than before. Don't get the COVID. Go on and get your vaccine. You know that it can keep you from dying. Don't leave your family all alone and crying. Don't get the COVID.
We invite you to join our fight against COVID and against misinformation. It's time to listen to the doctors and trust the science.
When I think of people dying that don't have to die, it makes me sad. Now is the time to be sober. Together we can make this thing over. Let's fight the COVID. Convenient urgent care, home of the smart patient.
And we're back. So, brothers and sisters, this whole thing about is it me or people talking too much, make sure it's not you talking too much as well. But I thought a funny thing we could do before we take the show out, I thought it'd be funny to actually put this into play, watch a situation where somebody does talk too much, and kind of kick back and enjoy it, because we all want to be able to help folks. So we're going to turn this over, and I'll be right back. This is a clip from Ask Steve from the old Steve Harvey show. It's Amir, we talking too much. Let's hit it.
Hey, Steve.
Hi.
So I go on a lot of first dates, and I tend to be super, super talkative, super chatty. I lead the conversation, ask all the questions. So my problem is that I'm still single, and I'm basically leave dinner, leave whatever, and they know everything about me, and I know nothing about them. What do I do to stop, let there be silence in the conversation and not have it be so, awkward and be comfortable with silence and basically just not babble the whole time?
No, stop calling it silence. It's called listening.
Yeah.
I can tell. This is a new concept.
Yeah, I don't listen well.
Yeah, you don't like to listen?
Well, I mean, I'll listen, but you have to have something to say, something good to say.
Yeah, but if you're talking, even if I have something good to say, if I can't get it in.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's good.
Did the light bulb just go on? She just went, oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah,
no,
you're right.
Yeah, see, the key to a great conversation is if you can do the majority of the listening, then you got a great conversation. Because like you say, a guy walks away at the end of the day, he knows everything about you, you know very little about him. Your objective as a woman at the end of the day is to get as much information as you can so you can make a decision.
Right.
Don't let him make all the decisions. You give up all the information, he gets to make a decision.
Yeah. Because then I always leave and I'm like, oh, I'm over him. Because, he was boring, probably.
I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this as Christian as I can. You just talk too damn much. Gonna have to listen, sweetheart. You're a pretty girl. You just gotta listen, that's all. Guys love to talk. I tell my daughters all the time, ask a man the same question, rephrase it, ask him each question 3 times. Watch what happens. Because if he's lying, I swear to you, he gonna switch that answer 3 times. I swear to you, I promise.
You talk too damn much. There is not a black child that grew up in a black household that did not hear their parents say the word, you talk too damn much. And maybe we should have that at congressional hearings. Maybe we should have that at court. Your Honor, no. I made a ruling. I don't know if you're guilty or innocent. I know you talk too damn much. Okay, so, brothers and sisters, we're going to wrap up, but I want to say a few things. Number one, I want to make sure that we are sensitive to people who are expressing themselves. Number one, because they're dealing with anxieties or mental health issues. We want to make sure those people are talking enough so we do hear them. And then the other side of it, brothers and sisters, what Steve was talking about, what the psychologists were talking about, it's about developing healthy habits in our conversations and having a certain amount of etiquette, asking questions about the other person, but also leaving a space where everybody can have an engagement time. We also call this the safe space in a conversation, whereby people can kind of float things and figure out what are the parameters of a discussion, what are the parameters of a debate. The art of talking, too much of what Steve Harvey said, is the art of listening. I want to hear what you have to say because somehow, if I'm lucky, it's enriching my thought process. And I want to be able to share with you the same way. So it's never going to be a thing of just yelling and shut the hell up. Unless you're a black child in the 1970s, that's going to happen. But my point, brothers and sisters, is even on the generational thing, being seen and not heard, there was still a process. And that process had to do with respect. Even now, at my age, and we've talked about this, when I get around elders and I hear them talking, I will not say anything to them unless they ask me to say something, and I keep it brief. I keep it brief. One of the elders, he's about 90 years old, he said, "You ain't talk a whole lot." I said, "Well, that's because I don't think you got a lot more time to talk." I mean, I didn't say anything after that, but I had to get it in. But he understood what I was saying. So listen, let's get to the wrap here, brothers and sisters, because we got a lot of things to do. For next week, brothers and sisters, we're going to try and bring on a special guest. We're going to try and bring on Brother Jordan Richter, who owns Tarifa Altar, one of our earliest sponsors, Tarifa Altar, with the fragrance. He has an amazing story. Excuse me. He has an amazing story about how he got to that certain point in time, but it's also an amazing story about having vision and entrepreneurship. So we're going to try and get him on here. And I am going to hopefully get somebody on who's going to talk to us a little bit about business. I had a great conversation with Brother today. I don't know if he's on. I have to, hold on a minute. It's amazing you have a great conversation with somebody, and then Brother Yusuf Abdul Jalil called me up, and we had this amazing talk about NFTs and just the whole scope. And I really want to share that with everybody because we're all moving towards that. And I want to thank him because he gave me a lot of food for thought, just a lot of information, and he was just coming from a beautiful place. Brother Yusuf, I appreciate that. He checked out one of our shows when we were talking about NFTs, and we just connected. So shout out to him. So listen, we're gonna get out of here. So if you allow me to, brothers and sisters, we're gonna go ahead and talk. Hey, we got Brother Eric. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you, Brother Eric? Appreciate you. And if you're dealing with people who talk too much, this was a show. Got Sister C. Sister Reese says, "I love the halftime show. LOL. Don't get the COVID." I wish I could put that up. It's probably gonna be better than a halftime show. We sent that out to the mayor, and we haven't heard back yet. But I don't know. I'm looking forward to the halftime show, and hopefully we're gonna get somebody in here that's gonna talk a little bit about football, not just about football, but the business of football, as we move towards the Super Bowl, which is really one of the biggest marketing live events in the world, if not the world. And it's coming here right after the playoffs. So I want everybody to get ready. So let you get out of here. Let's go ahead and close out. Let's shout out our sponsors really quickly. We want to give a shout out, of course, to www.BeFinanciallyIndependent.com. Again, that's www.BeFinanciallyIndependent.com. You can call 202-508-3780. Again, that's 202-508-3780. As well, we're going to give a shout out to Bayan Islamic Graduate School. You can go to Bayan online. They have quite an assortment of courses. They have courses in Islamic Studies, Islamic Leadership, Islamic Education, and, of course, the world-famous Masters of Divinity, and with the specialty in Muslim chaplaincy. So make sure you check that out. Moving along, we want to make sure that we shout out our newest partner here on the Shout Out Show, USHub.tv. Again, that's USHub TV. You can go to USHub.tv, the newest, if you will, streaming service in terms of Muslim culture, Muslim lifestyle, entertainment. We're talking documentaries, films, comedy. We're talking about a plethora of opportunities, brothers and sisters, that we hope on this platform we'll be able to grow with, especially yours truly. Check them out, ushub.com. And last but not least, of course, we want to give a shout out to ConvenientUrgentCare.com. You can go to www.convenienturgent.com. Again, that's convenienturgent.com. They are Convenient Urgent Care, and they've been a supporter for the show. I hope you guys like their ad. Shout out to my main man, brother Ijaz Saeed. So, with that, brothers and sisters, we're going to roll out of here. It's our time, and we hope that you had an excellent show. Again, we were not telling people to shut the hell up. We're saying, take a look at your conversation. Take a look at your conversation. Take a look at the conversation you're involved in. And you know what? Make decisions appropriately of what you're saying and what you don't say. And if you can't figure that out, then Shut the hell up. I'm out. Well, family, that's it for our show today. One of the reasons I felt compelled to make this video, because I noticed when an event is over, Muslims don't know when to leave. So if you're sitting there in front of your television going, that was fun, that was enjoyable, what do I do now? This is me telling you to leave. You know why? Because the show is over. I already left. I taped this before I made it. So you have permission to leave. And you also have permission to come back. To the Shout Out Show, we are Monday through Thursday. Again, that's 6 o'clock Eastern Time, 5 o'clock Central, and of course on the West Coast, 3 o'clock. So we want to thank you for coming on the show, my brothers and sisters. And guess what? This is yet another exercise for you to leave, because I'm out of here. Later.